On this episode of Lapeef, Let's Talk.
Of course not. The point is that that's what you can tell that's what she views as what makes her valuable, right?
What would you in a perfect world, JB? Perfect world. What would a woman say that would make you be like, okay, this is the one, or yeah, like what would be something she could say to make you be like, you know what, okay.
Well, for one, like, what value are you gonna bring to my life? Stop talking about.
Oh, so they should come in like
she was talking about a first date.
Right. That's
what. Say what?
So what would that sound like?
About a first date. She don't know you.
So what?
You don't know her.
So what? I mean, it's a first date for a reason. We're not just like, I'm not just wasting time with you.
So what would that sound like, JB? JB, this is what I can do for you. Blah 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 blah. Like I'm trying to figure out what does that sound like.
It's not gonna go like that. Okay, it's not gonna go like that. We're having a conversation.
I'm asking you, JB.
No. I'm saying we're having a conversation, right? But in that conversation, I have to be able to tell that, like, you have a perspective of what value you're gonna bring to me. When it comes to, for me, marriage, I'm very pro-marriage, but when it comes to marriage in the United States, there's one aspect that you just cannot protect yourself against. And it's the woman just basically changing her mind at some point, getting up and leaving and taking your children, right? And for me, that's my primary reason for wanting marriage is for children. That's my primary reason. Like if it wasn't for children, I don't even know if I honestly care about marriage, right? Other than the more like religious reasons. So because of that, like, and there's no recourse. And TLA talked about this, like the lead attorney, he talked about this. I actually had a private conversation with TLA as well, where he actually, went back and forth with me on this. And basically, like, when it comes to child custody, there's no recourse. Like, if the woman decides to change her mind, and then she could basically drain you financially, at least in America, she can drain you financially. And in most cases, the overwhelming majority of cases, men lose. And when it comes to child custody cases, and it's that doesn't even have anything to do with marriage. It's just that's just the reality of it, right? That's a fact. So if you're looking at marriage and your primary reason for it is children, and then you're dealing with a system where the woman has that level of power, and you can't work against it. That's actually something you can't just shove under the rug and just say, don't be fear-based or whatnot. Like, that's actually a very, very big concern. So for me, that's my primary concern with America. And then on top of that, you have when it comes to the women in particular, Kayla, you're wrong. I don't care about the women being 10s. In fact, I don't even think that's realistic. I don't know if you ask me who's a 10. I can't even think of a 10. Like, I don't even think it's realistic. To say like you want a woman who's a 10. Quite frankly, I don't know if I actually would want that, even if I I don't really want that. For me, what I care about the most is femininity. That's literally the first thing for me. Is I can't deal with a masculine woman, right? So she has to be feminine. I do care about obviously submission and like just a lot of the other things we talk about. But it's not, for me, it's actually not the looks that comes first at all. Like, that's not what's coming. I mean, I do care that I'm attracted to her, obviously, but that's not what comes first for me. So it's not the things that you describe. That's not the case.
JB, what city are you in?
I'm in Atlanta.
That's why. But if I said, when I brought
what does that mean? Hold up. What does that mean, Q?
You said Atlanta?
Yeah.
I mean, Atlanta. That's why you're not finding.
Hey, shout out to TLA for the $100 super chat.
But if I said, hey,
shout out to TLA
in that way,
shout out to Black Titan for the $50 super chat.
You want to find a wife over there. Your dad is going to set up something. So that's what I meant.
No, so right, but you said I've already made up my mind about culture, and it's like it has nothing to do with culture. I don't care about that. Like,
no, that's what I'm saying. If I worded it wrong, that's not what I meant by that. That's what I'm saying. I remember you said you want to go back to Haiti and get a wife there. Your dad might arrange something. I didn't mean it like that, so I apologize. It just happened to make sense because I'm Haitian and my father, with the connections that we have, and there's a traditional structure in Haiti, so it just happens to make sense that I can trust my dad on that he already has these established connections. And things are done between families, kind of similar to what Amira talks about, right? Things can be arranged between families, so that happens to make sense. But I just want to clarify, like, it had nothing to do with me just wanting a Haitian woman or like
Jonathan,
just wanting that culture.
Jonathan, if you find this girl, right? There's a lot of women in Atlanta, right? So say you find this girl, right? She's the one, whatever. She's feminine and all of that stuff. Are you ready to propose in the next 6 months?
Yeah.
Oh, JP.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
Jonathan, let me ask you a question.
Why not? I mean, like I told you, but the thing is, my main concern really, like when it comes to America, is just what I mentioned. That's it. Other than that, I mean, yes. Like,
so are you saying that it's not the women, it's just the system?
It's a combination of both, but for me, my primary concern is the system. Yeah.
What do you mean by it's a combination of both? Because I know you expressed a concern about the system, but what is your concern about the women specifically?
Okay, I'll give you an example. Being in Atlanta, right? Like a lot of the dates I go on, you'll find that like you end up realizing that, like, especially because there's a lot of Black women in America. I mean in Atlanta. And a lot of these sisters are very educated, okay, which I have no problem with. But they cannot wait to smack their education in your face, right? And so what I mean is, like, you go on a date with them and they can't stop talking about their degrees and all their accomplishments and what company they're working at, and it's like you almost have to be almost rude, basically, to not have to sit there and listen to her just go on and on about her accomplishments and her education. I quite frankly, I just don't care about it. So when she'll just keep going on and on about that, and that's their main focus, and that's the thing that that's what they attribute the value to. But then other than that, you find out that this person is pretty empty. That's just
JB. Do you ask questions?
Well, it's not an interrogation. Like we're having a conversation.
I mean, but like if somebody is having a conversation and you're kind of just talking, I mean, your education and your career are pretty standard things to talk about. So like JB, I think, if you want to find out more, and I'm not saying this is not what you do. I'm not saying that because I don't know. But just ask some more questions. I think that people's go-to is for some people, not for me, but for some people, their education and their career. In fact, like when you go to just random parties, the first thing people ask, what do you do? Like, it's just a standard thing. So I wouldn't necessarily like knock somebody for bringing those things up, because those are pretty standard things.
I'm not saying they shouldn't bring it up, right? Like, I'm not saying they shouldn't bring it up. In fact, I think it's dope if you have, if you've accomplished certain things. Like I'm not against you accomplishing things, right? That's not the point.
Of course not.
The point is that that's what you can tell, that's what she views as what makes her valuable, right?
What would you, in a perfect world, JB, perfect world, what would a woman say that would make you be like, okay, this is the one, or yeah, like what would be something she could say to make you be like, you know what, okay.
Well, for one, like, what value are you gonna bring to my life? Stop talking about.
Oh, so they should come in like
we're talking about a first date,
right? That's
what. Say what?
So what would that sound like?
About a first date, she don't know you.
So what?
You don't know her.
So what? I mean, it's a first date for a reason. We're not just like, I'm not just wasting time with you.
So what would that sound like, JB? JB, this is what I can do for you. Blah 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 blah. Like I'm trying to figure out what does that sound like.
It's not gonna go like that. Okay, it's not gonna go like that. We're having a conversation.
I'm asking you, JB.
No. I'm saying we're having a conversation, right? But in that conversation, I have to be able to tell that, like, you have a perspective of what value you're gonna bring to me.